Hello friends, this is our fourth lecture on new criticism. Yes. And so we have got today the main figure we can see, that is Cleon Brooks. Brooks actually was influenced by a movement called the fugitive movement. The fugitive movement. The fugitive. This is the fugitive movement. Actually, a group of southern poets. It was a collective of southern poets, a group of intellectual writers, so to say. You have people like John Crowe Ransom, Alan Tate. We have come across this. Donald Davidson and Robert Penn Warren. They used to meet on Saturday evenings, read and discuss poetry by the group, so written by themselves, and they advocated intensive reading, poems form, structure, meter, rhyme scheme, and imagery. So, fugitive movement is a group of southern poets. They are all poets. They used to come together every Saturday morning, sit together and discuss. Of course, before discussion, they might have had a fellowship or something like that we do not know. Anyhow, their main issue was not politics, not any other subjects, but it was the latest discoveries in science or psychoanalysis, none of these things. Their main concern was this, their own poetry. They would read, make a close reading. Close reading means it's a kind of Saturday club, So close reading here, you should understand that is a poem. They take the poem, start dissecting. What is the structure? What is the form? What is meter of this? See how this has been formed. What is the rhyme scheme? Things like that they used to discuss. Understand? So remember two very important things. One is the fugitive movement, and that is a group of southern poets. As I already told you, the place of origin of new criticism is America, the USA. So it's a USA-based criticism, you can say. Then, intensive reading of poems, close reading, that was the basis. So, new critical movement actually, see, this is how the new critical movement began. And the approach of Brooks was the cornerstone, or he was the leading figure in the new critical movement. 1935, Brooks and Robert Penn Warren founded the Southern Review. That's another thing. Saturday Club, Saturday meetings, that is one. We can call it Saturday Poetic Club. If you want, you can say this is not found in any book. You won't find it. If you search for Saturday Poetic Club, you are not going to get it. I thought it is putting things in this way would be easier for you to remember. Then the second is a journal they founded, Robert Penn Warren and Brooks, and that is Southern Review. The Southern Review. The Southern Review. So they had now, this new critical movement had two arms. One is the Saturday Club. The other one is, when we think of Saturday Club, we think of the coffee house discussions of Dr. Johnson and his friends, his contemporaries, Dryden, Pope and so on. So here, this is another, see, this is what we say, history repeats. See, something that happened in the 18th century, now it is the 21st century. So that is Southern Review. That's it. And they also had those things, they had periodicals, yes. Tatler, Spectator and so on. So you have got this same thing, somewhat the same, you can say. So the Southern, that is, they had a Southern Review. There's a leading journal, so there's a leading journal, and then together Brooks and Robert Penn, they collaborated, and their success, and it is very successful collaboration, very fruitful, and they achieved, in so to say, great success in teaching poetry and literature, and they wrote some best-selling books for the academy. See, the first one, you might know these things: An Approach to Literature, Understanding Poetry, Understanding Fiction, Understanding Drama, and then Modern Rhetoric. So about 5 books. All these books were very useful and very famous and bestsellers those days. 2 of them are understanding poetry, understanding drama, and understanding fiction. Then first one is the Approach to Literature. Approach to Literature, I will write down the names because these are important now. Approach to Literature, that's first one. Approach to Literature, and then Understanding Poetry. This was really a very famous and very path-breaking in literature, in pedagogy, you can say. Understanding Poetry, Understanding Fiction, easy to remember because they are all understanding fiction, and then 4 you have got understanding drama, and also you have and the next one is you have got the modern rhetoric. So these books were famous and useful, and also some of these books were very helpful to students to understand poetry, drama, and fiction, as the title itself says. Understand, as the title tell us. Alright, so far now we saw 3 very important points. One is that the Saturday Club, second is the Southern Review, third is some books. Now 2 most successful books were, one is, Modern Poetry and the Tradition. Modern Poetry and the Tradition, and the Well-Wrought Urn, very famous now. Yes. You have got the paradox and so on, they explain there. So the other 2 books are, one, the Well-Wrought Urn. The well-wrought means worked out, worked. Well-wrought, the Well-Wrought Urn. Service. Yes, the Well-Wrought Urn, and the other is the Modern Poetry and the Tradition. Modern Poetry and the Tradition. Modern Poetry and the Tradition. So these are 2 very successful books, you can say. So you can say 5 plus 2, 7. Brooks was the central figure, no doubt. And the idea was close reading. Already, you remember at the beginning we made an attempt, taking, apologetically, I can say, I presented before you a piece of practical criticism or close reading, and they advocated close reading over historical, biographical, and also interpretations and concerns. They are not bothered about biographical interpretations or historical interpretation or cultural interpretation. For them, the work of art is autonomous. In the Well-Wrought Urn, Brooks wrote, by making the closest examination, he said, closest examination of what the poem says as a poem. This is the point. So what you have to do is, you have to see what the poem says as a poem. That's the thing. That's why when we were doing the practical criticism, I did not mention the name of the author or you know who is the author, etc. I did not mention that, or the title even, or the background even, or the date of publication. None of these things. Why? Because you should find out what the poem says as a poem. What the poem says as a poem. For this, what you have to do? You have to have close reading. See that? So, a critic can effectively interpret and explicate the text. For him, the new criticism, so to say, we can say the new criticism, the literary study, be concerned primarily with the work itself. Again the same point. So these are ideas expressed in the well-written. Primarily, critics should concern primarily with the work. That is the method now. So we know the Saturday Club, we know the Southern Review, we know half a dozen books, 7 books altogether. Now the real thing actually, what is it all about? Understand? So the critic should, what the critic should do is, he should do the work itself. See, primarily with the work. His concern should be primarily with the work. And what we can see is almost like the approach of formalists. Formalism. No, there is another method of criticism called formalism. So almost the same, but formalists did not know, for example, Roman Jacobson, the Prague school and so on. So the Moscow circle and probably in the head of this thing, actually they did not have any contact at all. The formalist school developed separately, and the new critical school movement developed without any knowledge of what was going on in Russia. Understand, the Russian formalists. But most of the points, as you can see, there is similarity between both the schools. That's why they support, new critical movement supports the ideas of formalists, and the formalists support the ideas of, there is a synchronization, we can say, or a correspondence between the two. Although they did not know each other. So things can happen, different places, different movements start. When they come, you will find that there are some similarities, few differences, and so on. So the well-wrought is Brooks' classic, no doubt. And the well-wrought is the classic statement of the new critical movement. Absolutely not about it. It's a polemic against the tendency of the critics to reduce a poem, that is important, to a single narrative or didactic message. So critics, what they used to do, they will take a poem and say, this is the moral of the poem. See, when you say, very simple to explain this, you read the Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. You finally critics who are in search of moral of the poem, they will say, the last lines, that's all. That is, miles to go before I sleep, miles to go before I sleep. That is the main point. They forget all the other things. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, and then filling with the snow and all those things. There is no concern at all. Their concern is this. And they easily paraphrase it. But the new critics say, it's impossible to paraphrase a poem. You are killing the poem. It is a cold-blooded murder of the poem. That is heresy of paraphrase. There is a phrase that comes up in new criticism. Understand? In this new critical movement, this is a very important phrase. Another very important phrase. So we have seen now the Saturday Club, Southern Review, half a dozen plus one textbooks, the close reading, the well-wrought, the classic of the text, the classical text on new criticism, its author, Clean Brook, and now we find that there is heresy of paraphrase. Heresy of paraphrase means you cannot and should not reduce a poem to a statement. Understand? Because it is an experience. It is something that goes beyond your imagination, or as Longinus would say, transports you. It should transport you. Then when you are moved from one place to another, what is the scope, what is the place, what is the logic of writing it down on a piece of paper in prose, in dull prose? How can it? No, need not be prose need not be dull always. For example, when you read Charles Lamb's, some of Charles Lamb's essays, the dissertation upon roast pig, then dream children and so on. It's not dull. That also will move you to from the place you start to some other place. So that is sublime. Sublime, of course. There is another sublime, another way of looking at sublime, Bacon's essays. No. Lines like studies for delight, for ornament and for ability and so on. It's a sublime, it's no doubt about that. Sublime may not be mellifluous language, or it need not present before you imaginative ideas, and no, not necessary. Say, look at Bacon. A Baconian essay is a piece of sublimity. In that you will find. So, not always, I don't say that I am not finding fault with the prose, but heresy of paraphrase means trying to reduce a poem to statements and finalizing that, this is the main theme of the poem. You always say no. So that is heresy of paraphrase. Producing some kind of statement that is counter to the poem's purpose. If you write down, say the window, for example, Hopkins window, you can write an essay on it, but that is not the point. It is counterproductive, as he says. So he argues. So Brooks argues like this. Through irony, paradox, ambiguity, and other rhetorical poetic devices. These are poetic devices. What he calls the paradox, ambiguity, irony, metaphor, metonymy, synecdoche, then rhyming, then alliteration, then vowel harmony. These are all poetic devices. See? And his or her art, the poet works constantly against any reduction of the poem. That's the point, to a paraphrase. So, paradoxes. For example, when you are paraphrasing a poem, how can you show the vowel harmony in a poem? How can you show the alliteration? How can you show the rhyme scheme in the poem? So it is counterproductive. Don't do that. Against any reduction. That's the thing. So he says, he favors the presentation of conflicting phases, of themes and patterns of resolved stresses in a poem. You find these conflicting phases, you find themes, you find patterns, you find. And finally, there is the denouement. A denouement means the resolution. So how can you reduce these things to a piece of prose work? That is not possible. And if you are doing that, it is counterproductive, or it is like a cold-blooded murder of the poem. Understand? Like murder in the cathedral, murder on the paper. The paraphrasing is a murder on the paper of a poem. So that we should resist that. So the whole, you can say the whole philosophy of this new movement, if you call it a philosophy, and that is against reducing a poem. Especially this new movement, actually the main protagonist, you can say, of this movement is poetry, not drama or novel. So it's a movement for poetry mainly. So the protagonist is poetry, and this protagonist should be well protected. It should not be murdered It should not be paraphrased. It should not be reduced to a mere few sentences. It should not be reduced to the level of finding the moral of this poem. See, a critic's work should not be reduced to that. Therefore, the Brooks and his teacher, J.C. Ransom, and his collaborators like Robert Penwarren and so on, what they were asking us to do is this much. That is, find out what the poem says. Ask the poem. Close reading. Find out its meaning. Forget about biography and psychoanalysis and culture and politics and history and all those. See what the piece tells you. Then enjoy that. Enjoy different form, the poetic devices used, like paradox, etc. So it's a kind of earnest appeal from a group of practicing poets. Not just, they are not people who are sitting on the shore and catching fish. No, not like that. They themselves are immersed in this, and they are exhorting us with all their mind and body and all the energy they have, and they are telling us that you should not reduce a poem to prose, should not go after a poem searching for the moral, should not kill the poem by forgetting or by extraneous, extra poetic matters, such as biography of the author, culture, politics, and so on. So, what this new critical movement is trying, their focus is the purity of the work of art. The purity of a poem. A poem is such a unique piece of art, that you should try to enjoy it, read it, find out the beauties of it, take the experience within you, and then have a few moments of, have some few sublime moments in your life. Listen, let a poem be an oasis in a desert of confusion and chaos. That is what these people are saying. So that way it is encouraging and it should be supported. And we will see what are the main tenets of this, what are the main the doctrines of this new critical movement, say in the next class. Till then, bye, have a nice time, enjoy your life, and I hope that you are following and enjoying my classes. Thank you very much.